Well, I hope you're all enjoying the patch, but that does not mean that there's not news to cover. Blizzard's instant hotfixes have solved some major issues. There's been some confusion over the mount, a leaked legendary, a potential 6th dragon riding mount, and a bunch more. And let's get stuck in. Like how you should get stuck into our game, The Pale Beyond, because we just dropped a major patch for our publisher's special event, Ludonarracon. The biggest change is new difficulties, classic, normal, and hard. The game is more fair, but if you want to do the harder mode, yeah, there's good stuff there. And on top of that, if you're on the fence about things, the demo now has transferable saves to the main game. So you can try it at no cost and then continue into the full game at a 10% discount if you enjoy. So check it out, links below. And with that said, dude, where's my mount? Because there's this mount. It looks awesome. Blizzard had previously said that this beauty would be available this week, and it's not. Blizzard got it wrong because actually it's a part of Chapter 5 of the campaign, and everyone got very confused when they then finished Chapter 4 and there was nothing. But what's weird is that in Chapter 4, the dragons talk about recovering and taking some time, implying that's the intentional stop before the raid next week. But no mount. People weren't particularly happy, and ultimately, it actually seems this was a communications mix-up internally, because Kyvax took to the forums to say Chapter 4 and 5 next week, before then editing the post to call the chapters by their names, Inherited Sin and Inevitable Confrontation, which are actually Chapters 5 and 6, with only one being after that. Yeah, so basically, it's a miscommunication. It's an easy mistake to make with a massive team, but at either rate, the Slither Drake is next week, as are the Farak Assaults and the Researchers Under Fire event, plus, of course, Season 2. Okay, fixes. You may have noticed there's no campaign skip in your alts. May have seemed like a step backwards, and it turns out that's intentional because actually alts have got everything unlocked anyway. You don't need to do a manual skip. Now, of course, if you feel like it, you can do the campaign because that will get you a bunch of gear. It'll get you flight stones and reputation. The point is, you don't need to. You can just go and do the Zaralek caverns once they're unlocked in your main. Or at least that was the idea, because Blizzard made a slip-up, and that was that the Spark of Shadowflame weekly quest was still locked behind Chapter 1. Now, usually, this would have been a big pain in the ass, and it would have taken weeks for a fix. But after the initial, a bit explosive backlash, Blizzard actually fixed it immediately. So now alts can just fly straight down and pick up the quest. Now, you still do need to finish the actual Spark quest, which means getting 1500 rep, but that's no big deal. Pretty nice, then. And Blizzard also clarified, there was another little minor drama about there being no Spark catch-up. Turns out there is. If you skip the Spark quest for a week, or maybe start an alt later, you will have a chance from almost all content for just bonus sparks to drop until you are caught up. So, compared to what we're used to, this is an insane turnaround speed for fixes, and they're just basically thinking about problems and solving them whenever they show up, which is great. Now, while we're talking about fixes, if you were thinking that Zaralek was lacking content, it's potentially because you're not seeing it. So these are public events. Now these are good. You need to do them for your fragrant coins that get you crests. They're public events, and they only appear on your world map when your character is near to the map marker, which means that if you're just sat in Loam waiting for like some of these events to spawn in, you're just going to miss them. So basically, get patrolling. This is really dumb. Blizzard should make these appear globally. I mean, a lot of people are probably looking at the spawn rate of rares and thinking, great, I just sit in Loam for like 5 minutes and I do shag all. When no, in reality, actually, there's public events going on around the zone. It's just the map doesn't tell you, which is silly. Blizzard, fix that up. It would make sense. Next then, if you are wondering why a certain Dragonflight, one that to many players such as myself will be very relevant, isn't in this expansion, it may change. Right, so here's the deal. There's a data mined item, Mr. GM found it while digging around, called the Grotto Netherwing Drake, and it was tagged as a dragon riding mount, costing 999 traders tender. Now, Netherwing, I mean, the Netherwing rep, the whole thing in the Burning Crusade, right? It was getting your 4,000 gold, unlocking your epic flying, grinding your Netherwing Drake, and if you saw a player earlier on in the Burning Crusade with the Netherwing Drake, you think, shit, they're really cool, right? So it means a lot to people. Now, this would be awesome if we can get it. It's an aesthetic we've not seen since those early low-res days of the Burning Crusade. I think these look awesome. And if 999 Traders Tender sounds too expensive, don't worry, because that's usually a placeholder cost for items that end up as the finishing rewards for the journal that month. Now, there's no model to show you, but, well, here's what an original one looks like for reference. And now, it's time for a cock-up. Well, the L's had to happen at some point. This is weird. Okay, the trading post had a bit of a whoopsie with the changeover to May. Somebody put the wrong gear on it as the end of month reward the completing the bar reward in EU. And they revealed something exciting coming up. A set of Medivh-inspired gear called the Guardian of Tirisfal Ensemble. It was up for a few hours in EU before it was fixed, which was just enough for some people to spot it and nab it, except it wasn't actually ready. So it actually it looks like this, and the actual models, I think, are great. You've got the staff, which is no Atiesh, but it's a pretty damn good replacement. So, any mages or warlocks who want to kind of be a mysterious old wizard should be able to get this in coming months. Or at least, that's what they thought, because then Blizzard put it in the store for $8. And worse yet, it's only available till the end of May, so the old FOMO is there. But things are weird. It was obviously on the trading post. People are then thinking, did you just take a trading post item, yank it out? Because this set was labeled as trading post on the PTR. It literally appeared on the trading post, and then you yanked it onto the store. And the answer for that is yes and no, because the small print on the Guardian pack actually says that it will be available in the trading post no sooner than 3 months after it leaves the store. So this is certainly new, and it shows that they are trying to get more revenue per player out of World of Warcraft with store items, which is something that they've actually reported as having success with in their recent earnings call. Basically, right, you either buy it now or you buy it with tendies down the line, which means that if you're one of those players who doesn't have enough tendies, is it time to swipe? Because the thing is, if you buy it now, you don't have to spend the tendies later, and then you get the thing later. I think that's something they're kind of acting on. Ultimately, this will probably bring in a fair amount of money for the people who want to get everything from the trading post and the people who want things immediately. So buy now or earn later. It is straight from the modern video game rulebook. Not ideal. At least it is still going to go on the trading post, and at least it's happening in a way where people, they know. So it's not like somebody's going to buy it and then feel rug pulled. If you are buying it now, you are overtly saying, I could get this later, but I'm buying it now, maybe to save the tendies. I mean, I have to assume it will be a trading tender or traders post tender thing rather than a a capstone reward for filling it up. My personal suspicion here is that they are trying to move into lower cost microtransactions. I have a sneaky feeling that they've looked at how well Final Fantasy XIV has been able to convert. Now, FF14 does have, it is a really big, cash shop for cosmetics. And it does have many things that are higher ticket items, but it also has a lot of things that are way cheaper than WoW Store stuff. So I'm wondering if they feel that, all right, people like FF14, it has a good content cadence, and those developers have been able to get away with that. We can do it too. I imagine that's what's happened. Now, this actually wasn't the only mix-up, because the Twitch drop was also wrong for a bit. The first drop was supposed to be the Ethereal Portal Hearthstone toy, but actually they accidentally set it to being the Blazing Hippogriff. Now, this has been fixed with the portal now live this week, and the Hippogriff showing up next week as originally intended. Okay, let's move on. There's a leaked legendary, maybe. So, Ian said, no third Evoker spec in 10.1, but he did, however, say that Evokers might have something to look forward to on Sarkareth, And now we think we know what that is because of some deep data mining and a leak that may even be from inside Blizzard. To cut a long story short, a bunch of data mining hinted that there might be a secret Evoker legendary questline that's going to lead to them crafting their own class exclusive legendary once Sarkareth is down. It's apparently going to be kind of expensive based on the reagents, and there's some remaining encrypted parts that are probably going to be quite hard, or at least very time consuming to obtain. So this does feel like it is in the tradition of some of your older legendaries in the game where they're not a thing that you just get somebody to make, as in Shadowlands. It's, I don't know, more of a Valinir or a Shadowmourne or something, or, you know, Terragosa or Fangs of the Father, I suppose. Now that data mining was then followed up by this image being spread around. It might be real. Mr. GM pointed out that it says soulbound, meaning that the player owns the item, but the player wasn't an evoker, which means it's either fake or maybe an internal leak from inside Blizzard. The item itself is a one-handed fist weapon called Nazuro, Unbound Legacy. Now, that, of course, sounds rather similar to Nal Skull, which is where Sarkareth found the broken Oathbinder. You know, binder, unbound, its relationship to the Dracthyr legacy, the fact that it's being crafted, maybe fixing it. You can see how all of this stuff lines up. It's a very high item level item, but the effect is not for the user. They actually end up buffing others, which then leans back to the whole augmentation third spec that we speculated about in this video, which is kind of food for thought. Who knows? Sarkareth will die next week, so maybe we're going to find out soon. Now, if you're still watching this, but you've not actually played Dragonflight, then now's not a bad time to hop in for two reasons. Number one, there's a new trial, but it's a weird one. If you're playing WoW with active game time, but you haven't bought Dragonflight, then you can play Dragonflight's level up content on any character, including an Evoker, until June 4th. But you can't level past 60, because that would mean your character is unplayable after the trial. What happens is, because obviously all the leveling content scales, you can do all your leveling, but the experience is basically just stored. And then when you buy the expansion, you get all the experience. So that is a free trial that basically is saying, you can do, like, everything. You just can't do stuff that means you've got to be max level. But you won't feel like you're wasting time because all your efforts are banked up. So I guess that's a fairly innovative way of doing this, like a promotion thing. The other thing, though, is there's a really aggressive sale, because right now the base edition of this game is 50% off in the UK. It's actually 20 quid here. It's 40% off in the US at $30. The Heroic Edition with the mount, the pet, and the boost is $42, and the Epic, which has that, Hearthstone, Mog Helm, 5 very stiff Dragon Wing back items that don't look as good as they should, and 30 days of game time is $54. Now, when you consider that the game time is $15, that actually makes it a better deal than Heroic, which really shows how badly they want people to come back and play this game. And as a bunch of analysis has shown, between their monthly active user reports, their finances, some other behaviors, this is probably needed. Blizzard have literally said that this expansion didn't sell as well as the last ones. But they did say that retention is actually up for the people who are playing it, that this is the best player retaining expansion of modern World of Warcraft. Now, I'd say that's down to two things. Number one, the people least likely to stay around were culled by BFA and Shadowlands. And then number two, this is undoubtedly the best expansion they have shipped in a very, very, very long time, with a content cadence that is more aggressive. I mean, the first major patch of Legion was like the Broken Shore. And I feel like 10.1 has got a hell of a lot more than the Broken Shore. Yeah, so pretty good time. Now, there's also a sale on boosts, transfers, and the now a lot more useful faction and race changes, which are about 30% off. And remember, cross-faction guilds are now a thing, so Blizzard clearly want to sweeten that deal. These run until May 15th, though, so if you want in, well, that's the time you've got to deal with. And it also means that if you play the trial now, you will feel a bit of pressure to upgrade during the sale, because the sale ends before the trial does. Okay, and that's it for the main news. Obviously, keep an eye on the channel next week, because things are going to be crazy. I'm working on my big, sweaty, degenerate guide, because that's just kind of what I want to do for Gearing in Season 2. We will be hitting that lore very hot on Tuesday night, probably with a video on Wednesday. That'll be quite exciting. And if you want something else to play, during the weekend, because you've probably finished the content before Season 2 starts, check out The Pale Beyond. You can literally play it for free, transfer your save file from the demo over to the main game. It's all with our refactored difficulty, which we think is, it still is hard, but it is more balanced and more fair with an optional hard mode. Then, go do that shit. The Pale Beyond, I can happily say, is a really damn good game. People have been really enjoying it. Now is pretty much the best time to do it. And of course, if you want to check out some of the other things we're doing, you can check out our Patreon, where we have got behind-the-scenes content. We've got a new episode of Lore Walking, our podcast on Neltharion. It's just over an hour of diving real deep into that character, and just a bunch of other content there. So, we're very busy. We're very busy, and I'm probably going to get my Paladin up in Zaralek. Yeah, I think that's what I'll do this weekend. All right, have a great time, everybody, and I'll see you next time.